Hi, it's Hans at ahappierman.com. Today's topic is verbally abusive mothers. Well, I have quite a few videos regarding verbally abusive wives, and the verbal abuse from my wife is what caused me to leave her and move on with my life and start a much happier man life. And I've talked about it extensively in these videos. I have lots of verbal abusive men articles on my website, ahappierman.com. And I have my book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man with a 3-Step System, available on the ahappierman.com website. So I know a lot about verbal abusive men. I've done a lot of, when I was writing the book, I did a lot of research about the verbal abuse mostly of verbal abuse of men to women. There was lots and lots of books and articles about this. That seemed to be the problem. There's very little about verbal abuse of men. In fact, I could only find maybe 2 or 3 books that had it specifically about verbal abuse of men from women. So, I had to turn everything around for my case, and for the most part, men don't want to admit all this. But let's get back to the topic at hand, verbally abusive mothers. Somebody, a subscriber to my YouTube channel said, yeah, that's pretty interesting, Happier Man, but maybe you could talk about verbally abusive mothers. And I thought, yeah, that might be good. So in my case, my mother is not verbally abusive at all. She is sweet and kind and nice and loving, and rarely has a harsh word for any of her children, grandchildren, or anybody. She's just a very nice lady. So when I got involved with my wife and eventually got into that harshness, it was like kind of a total shock to me that women could be this way, because my mom wasn't that way. My grandmothers weren't that way. My aunts weren't that way. The teachers in school, the lady teachers, I didn't have any inkling that this verbal abusive mothers was a thing. But over the years, yes, there's been enough hearing about this, and to me, it's just totally unacceptable, totally outrageous that a mother would verbally abuse her child, whether the child is a woman or a man, a boy or a girl. It just makes no sense to me how a parent, let alone the mother, could be verbally abusive. And as a child, you're stuck, right? Where are you going to go when your mother is verbally abusing you? You have very little recourse. If you're a child listening to this, well, when you turn 18, you have to leave and don't look back. Your verbally abusive mother, what I've seen is the verbally abusive women to men. They don't change. They don't get nice at some point and repent of what they've done wrong. They just kind of keep going for whatever reason. That's the way they are. That's how they react to you as a child, even an adult. When your mother, you could be well into your adulthood and you find your mother is still quite verbally abusive. And if you're an adult, well, you can move away from her, but I know this is pretty tough. Getting back to what you can do as a child, well, when I left my wife, my son was 12, daughter was 8. Don't quote me on those numbers. It's been so many years, and I've had to repress a lot of memories, so the actual numbers are hard for me to pinpoint when I'm pressed, like on a video like this. But they were around that age, and I left, and I was a shell-shocked man. I barely barely made it. I had no confidence, no self-esteem, nothing going for me. The only thing I had was the enough will just to leave her. Enough will to leave her. So when I left, I just left the kids with her and then started all the divorce processes, and I had minor contact with the kids for the next 2, 3, 4 years or so. Just minor time with them. But the time we had was sweet and wonderful, and I was a devoted dad as best I could in that time frame. And so at some point I kind of figured they might have to leave their mother, because I thought that she might eventually turn on them like she turned on me. And that's basically what happened. On my son's 16th birthday, he begged me to take him from his mother, and I did, and he immediately began to thrive away from her. I don't know the extent of her verbal abuse of him. I don't want to ask. I don't want to know, to tell the truth. I just know that it was very, very hard on him living with her, and I'm sorry he had to live with her for as long as he did. But I was there for him when he needed me, and his life began to get much better. Now, certainly when you're abused as a child, it's going to affect you. It affects everyone. 6 months later, my daughter stayed with the mother. Excuse me. 6 months later, my daughter ran away from her mother to be with me, and she has been with me ever since. After that, you know, their mother, my ex-wife, you know, more or less fell totally apart, and thankfully I was starting to get my life together enough that I could be the mother and the father to finish raising them. So let's say you're a child, maybe one of your parents is available for you. If one of them is a bad parent, you know, if you got a verbally abusive mother, maybe your dad, maybe not, I don't know. Maybe he's available to help you through this hard time. What I think is going to happen to a lot of verbally abused children is you're just going to get destroyed. I don't know how else to put it, that the mothers can be so difficult and so hard on their children that the children are basically just destroyed. The hope you have is that you will grow up, the years will turn, you will escape. When you turn 18, you will be able to put your life together. You're not the first one to be verbally abused by a mother. This has been going on since the beginning of time, and it's up to you to make a good life for yourself, but without your mother in the picture. And it's going to be really, really, really hard. It's much nicer to have just a wonderful, loving, supportive mother who's got your back. If you're a lady, please, and your mother, have your children's back. If you find you're abusing your child, reconsider. Start being nice. Your children need you to be nice to them more than anything. That's what they thrive on. That's what they need. That's how it would be best if you could be that way to them. Now, certainly you're going to be disciplined and there'll be punishment if they're doing things wrong. But what I mean is the verbal abuse for no real reason other than that's just your modus operandi, where you just are hard on children. So I wish I had some magic wand I could wave, and the verbal abuse of children, verbal abuse from mothers, from men, from anyone is eradicated. I will continue to fight this darn fight as best I can. You know, I would seriously consider looking at my website, ahappierman.com. There's a bunch of articles about verbal abuse of men. Just read those. Substitute men for whatever you are, and substitute your wife for whatever the verbal abuser are. There's some other, I think I have some links to some other good articles. The book could be spun as what to do if you're in a verbal abusive family, but I had to write the book for my experience. That being said, it may provide some value to you to understand about verbal abuse. Maybe I'll delve into this as best I can. It's just, you know, to tell the truth, my life is just filled with so much happiness, so much fun, so much excitement, so much good times, that going back, talking about the verbal abuse, it's difficult for me. But I know that I have to, and I'll try to help you. If you're an adult and your mother is still verbally abusing you, just cut the cord, cut your contact with her. It may be difficult. She may be using financial means to verbally abuse you. She may be using enormous, certainly she's going to be using the guilt card on an almost continual basis. But you know, at some point you just got to forget about that and close your ears to that. If you're a child, you somehow maybe got to spend less time around her, try to do your own thing, get involved, maybe getting more involved at school so you're not around too much. Maybe there's some people nearby you can spend more time with, you know. Maybe there's some better people you can spend more time with. But you know, that's about the extent of what I can offer you at this time. Certainly it's just an absolutely horrible situation that you're in, but there is hope. There is hope. Do not go drastic. If you can work your way past the verbal abuse you're in, you will have an enormously great life. The great life is waiting for you. It may take you some time to get there. Your great life, it's out there. It may take longer for you to get to. You may not have it for a while, but you will have it. Put that in your mind, that you will have a great life in spite of these enormous difficulties that you find yourself in. It isn't your fault that your mother is verbally abusive. It's her fault. It's her issues. You just have to find a way to kind of cope with things in the short run, because in the long run you're going to have a great life, whether you're a man, whether you're a child, whether you're a woman, whether you're a young girl or a young boy. You will have a great life. It is possible. Everything can change for the better for you. You got to hang in there. You got to be tough. You got to be somewhat stoic. You got to be willing to make changes for the better when the time comes. So give that some thought, all for now.